All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode, what is this, 240 of the 815 Exchange. And well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is March. It is March, and it is about to get very, very mad. All right, you already know what it is. Y'all already know what it is. It's about to get mad. In college basketball, it's about to get real hectic. All right, we had the last week of the men's college basketball season. We've got women's conference championships going on right now as I speak, that we're going to talk about later on in the show. College basketball is getting the main events. We'll be kicking off with UFC 313. Yeah, UFC 313. Poatan, Ankalaev finally happened. And we'll talk about what happened there, because for a lot of y'all, that was a very, very sad day. I'm not gonna lie, it was a very sad night for y'all yesterday. All right, I had a rough day yesterday too. All right, but we prevailed because of what happened with Duke. But we're gonna get to that. Like I said, we're gonna get to that in college basketball. We've got the Invincible war that went down this week in Invincible. For entertainment, we got Aitch dropping yet again. We got another Blackpink girly drop, and of course, Tory Lanez dropped an album, so we'll be talking about that. And then we got a few things to wrap up in the roundup that we'll talk about there. But that's a long way from now. But for now, get comfortable, get your food and drink. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. All right. Remember that timestamps are embedded in the video, so if there's a certain segment you really just came here to watch, you really have your mind on, you really wanted to see Ocho, what did you have to say about this? Feel free to skip ahead. All right, skip ahead. Timestamps provided in the video, also in the description, along with everything else you're looking for in this life, like my social media links. So yes, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let us get to the business we have to attend to today. Starting off, like I said, with the UFC. All right, UFC 313 live from LV, home of the UFC, and of course, it was headlined by the long-awaited light heavyweight title matchup between Alex Pereira and one Mohamed Ankalaev. And well, ladies and gentlemen, there was really one or two ways this fight was going to go, to be honest. One or two ways. Either Poatan was going to do what Poatan has done to everybody, it seems, and knock this man out. He was going to knock and collect another body for his rap sheet. Or Ankalaev was going to out-grapple and out-wrestle, and we were going to find out just how one-dimensional Alex was. And you know what? Poatan showed up some pretty good takedown, if I say so myself, some not bad takedown defense in this, right? However, the threat of Ankalaev's grappling and his wrestling completely neutered everything else that Alex Pereira brings to the table and what makes Poatan an all-time great. It seemingly nullified. Him having to seemingly always be on caution made him fight out of his normal style, which, you know what, credit to Ankalaev. It wasn't beautiful to watch. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. All right. And that's not the only fight that was on this card that was similar to this. All right. But it was effective. It was effective. And Ankalaev's not a bad striker. And, Alex threw a bunch of leg kicks, but Ankalaev didn't fold to them. Did a really good job there. So, I mean, as much as I wasn't, the most excited by it, it's not the most thrilling result probably for the division, but Ankalaev deserved it. All right, and Ankalaev gets the UD here, and he is the new light heavyweight champion. He's the new king here at 205, takes out Alex. It's, obviously messes up a lot of UFC's plans because they were definitely hoping to get that Alex versus John Jones fight. But, I also now question, I think if Alex couldn't hit John, then that changes things. But with Ankalaev being able to do what he did to Alex in this fight, and John being a very good wrestler as well, not being this one-dimensional fighter, I kind of question now whether, he would win. Alex would beat John. So, even a washed John at this rate. But nonetheless, congrats to Ankalaev. Like I said, it wasn't beautiful. It wasn't the most, visually appeasing. It wasn't, going to be the fan favorite matchup. But he did what he had to do to win. And you know what? It's, that's the game. That's the fight game sometimes. Do what you got to do to win. And Ankalaev did. Co-main event was a banger, though. All right, so at least we did have a banger here. All right, just in case, of course, it was JG. It was JG. He's the human highlight reel. Would he ever disappoint? And of course he wouldn't. All right, whether he gets KO'd or he brutally KOs somebody, it's going to be a highlight. It's going to be on your TikTok feed. It's going to be on your IG feed. It's going to be all over Twitter trending. It's what Justin Gaethje's done throughout his probably UFC Hall of Fame career. All right, and he did it again here. Fizev, like I said last week, probably going to be match of the night. I think it did win match of the night. And yeah, it was a good scrap. JG gets the win here. UD, well deserved. But Fizev was game. All right, got up from a lot of big shots, and came back firing on his own. So yeah, it delivered. This is exactly there's a second fight between these two guys. You saw that I think in some of the strategy here, but nonetheless, I think it was still a really really good scrap that lived up to the hype. So yeah, shout out to JG for always delivering the goods. And to round up here, UFC 313, Ignacio subs Jalen Turner. Then Jalen Turner at only 29 years old. But, I kind of get it. Very demoralizing, to be the guy that's, maybe he'll break through, but he just never can break through. It's a rough start to be in. So, yeah, he does retire after this. But, yeah, beautiful work from Ignacio. Could be a dangerous man. Could be a dangerous man in that division. The Mauricio Ruffy will kick, though, stole the show. That he hit on King Green. Woo! Woo! And it looked like, that's the crazy thing about, reverse roundhouses or wheel kicks, is it always looks like, sometimes you see him hit flush, and that's crazy. But other times you see it, and it's like, it grazes him. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and they just go. But yeah, looked like he just grazed him, but yeah, he put him to sleep. It was beautiful. Knockout of the night, obviously. It was the big story besides, obviously, Poatan getting upset, but yeah. Crazy result there. But nonetheless, yeah, big upsets here. UC 313 wasn't the all-time great card or anything. It was cool. It was nothing crazy. Had some highlights here and there, and a shocking result here in the main event. But yeah, that was UFC 313 on to 314, which might be Volk and Diego Lopez, but there might be something before that. By the way, they've been very buddy, very buddy, which is fine. Honestly, a breath of fresh air. Moving on. Not a lot of headlining subjects here. So we going straight to ENT, ladies and gentlemen. We are going straight to entertainment. All right. Invincible. Let's talk about it. All right. Let's talk about it. Invincible War specifically here. Was everything I ever wanted. Everything I ever wanted. Shout out to Steven Yeun though. I gotta give a shout out to Steven Yeun for voicing 18 different characters of the same character, essentially. 18 different variants of the same character, and being able to put enough personality into your voice that kind of distinguishes all of them and the different traits or things they've gone through. So yeah, really, really cool to see the different variants of Mark and everything that happened there. And yeah, just crazy. They destroy all the major cities in the world. And then Mark, Eve gets, hurt. She's put into, critical. So Mark's in his feelings. He's like, bro, I don't, he's going through it. Going through it. Feels like he disappointed everybody. He's having an identity crisis. And then Conquest shows up, voiced by Jeffrey D. Morgan. So we getting Glenn versus Negan part 2. All right, can Glenn get his lick back next week? All right, but yeah, for those of you who have not read the comics, be very ready for the season finale. Unfortunately, the season finale here for season 3 next week because yeah, it's one of the best fights in the entire series. All right. Conquest versus Mark is one of the best fights in the entire series. In a series of great fights, one of the absolute best. So yeah, going to be a lot of fun. JDM's voice, I will say, even though I don't doubt him being able to hold it down next week, but even though it was cool to see him obviously, handle that iconic line of when Conquest returns, it took me a little second to kind of get used to his voice. It felt a little off for what my headcanon for what Conquest was going to sound like. But otherwise, I got full faith in JDM. He's a great actor of being able to get it done. So yeah, Invincible still the best show on telly. No debating. Respectfully, White Lotus. I've actually caught up to White Lotus. I'll be watching that tonight. But respectfully, it's Invincible. Big Invincible up here. PETERSON, Tory Lanez. We said this was going to come in last year when he was dropping the prison tapes. But instead we got this. We got PETERSON here, which was announced this week as well. So he drops a full 20-song album from prison. Shout out to his producer. All right, that's what I want to say first off. Before I do any ratings or say what the standouts were, gotta give a shout out to his producer because it sounded like a normal studio album. So hats off there. Now, Sailor Moon and I think I F the Lady Cop are probably my two. Probably gonna change around. Sailor Moon's probably gonna stay. I F the Lady Cop could maybe move around a little bit. Probably my two favorites of what I listen to in Peterson. I'm gonna give it a 7.7. I'm gonna give Peterson. It is good, but it's very much so in that prison messaging kind of like Tory was done wrong propaganda. And I'm not using that in like a I'm saying Tory is guilty or anything. I'm just using propaganda in its general sense of being what propaganda is. Um, it's definitely heavy on the free Tory message, which is not surprising, obviously, with kind of the context of which this album is being released around. But there was still some good stuff. But and obviously it's kind of tough, and I feel like people would have felt a type of way if Tory would have just been talking about like his normal stuff and not his current situation. But obviously, it's hard to relate and feel the music the same when he's talking about his experience in jail, even if it's well executed. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's what kind of drops the album from the usual quality in terms with me and Tory. And it's why some of my favorite songs on the album were just kind of like sounded almost like his normal stuff rather than kind of what he's going on in his life in prison, even though it completely makes sense, obviously, for that to be what he's talking about. So yeah, that's my feelings on that. I'm gonna give it a 7 point. I said 7.7, probably 7.6, honestly. But yeah, not too bad. So there's some good stuff on it. But yeah, surprise drop. Still good to hear from Tory, nonetheless. Very very talented artist. Very very talented artist. Aitch dropped again. I feel like we do this every other week, which honestly might be dropping every other week. Where is the album, Harrison? Where is the album? You keep dropping straight rhymes too. Fire, nonetheless. By the way, straight bars. You're one of the best in the British scene. Got you. All right. Skepta, by the way, just did a in the booth with Max impromptu. I did tune in for that. That song was fire that they made. That is going straight to the playlist. But yeah, H. Where's Harrison? Where's the album, bro? All right, where's the album? Stop teasing us. Ginny dropped Ruby. We'll do an album reaction on the Patreon for that. But yeah, good album. Very good project. Shout out to JK. And of course, you can watch that reaction for Like Ginny that I did on Friday. You can see that it's the video before this. So yeah, that's that with ENT. Now, I promised y'all college basketball. Who would I be to not deliver y'all college basketball? CBB. Ooh, Auburn fans, you want to talk about it? I mean, we can ignore it, or do you want to talk about what happened yesterday, or hey, I mean, we kind of have to talk about it. I put it in my notes, so we kind of have to talk about it, right? Yeah, Bama gets the win here in overtime. Mark Sears, by the way, plays one of the worst games he's probably ever played in an Alabama uniform. I'm so serious. One of the worst games you will ever see Mark Sears play in an Alabama uniform, and he still hit the game winner in overtime at Auburn to win. It was iconic. All right, an absolute classic Iron Bowl matchup, like I said here, between Bama and Auburn, two of the best teams in the country. Bama needed this game, though. As much as Auburn also needed this game to really kind of affirm themselves as the number one, team going here into the SEC tournament, Bama needed this horribly bad. All right, they were 1-6 against the other elites here in the SEC and against other top five opponents. They needed this. Absolutely needed this. And yeah, they get it here. Big reason why Grant Nelson playing like when Grant Nelson plays like the player that Grant Nelson was supposed to be, that completely changes everything for this Alabama team. Completely changes everything. Even in a game here where Mark doesn't show up until literally the last second, Grant playing the way he did and being the force and being the star he was supposed to be completely alters the chemistry here for this Bama team. Grant had 23 and 8. He was big time in this game. Sahad had 19 off the bench for Auburn and, of course, was the go-to guy down the stretch. Which I get why they bring him off the bench, but he's just start Sahad, honestly. Start him. I know you got your super seniors, but Sahad is the guy. All right. Even though he wasn't super efficient in this game, Johnny Broome looked like, he was like, hey, National Player of the Year, it's not done and dusted yet. 34, 8, 3, 3, and 5 for Johnny Broome in this game. He was a absolute monster and hit the shot that sent this game to overtime. But it wasn't enough. All right, it wasn't enough because, like I said, defense faltered for Auburn in that overtime, and especially in that last play, Sears just cannot get that floater look. You cannot let him get that step and let him get that off that cleanly. As soon as he let that go and got space, I was like, yeah, that's cash money. All right, and CBM has to control his emotions. This has been a thing since he was at Yale. Character concerns. And it's not even like some off court stuff. It's on court. Is kind of like, to put it in hockey terms, he's got a goon tendency. He's got some not in a good way. He's got some enforcer in him, right? And it can be problematic because he's a pretty key piece to an extent, I dare say, to this Auburn puzzle. So yeah. Auburn needs CVM to lock in. Broome is locked in, but it wasn't enough. Sears is the game winner, and Bama gets a much-needed win against their most hated rival. St. John's, we haven't talked about them enough. We have not talked about St. John's enough, and that's my fault. All right, we've said some things here and there, but we haven't talked about them enough, so we're going to talk about them right now. All right, Rick Pitino, one of the greatest college coaches in the history of the game, has only emphasized that by what he has done at St. John's. And honestly, this St. John's team just works for me. It just works. With Pitino at the helm and the players they got, like R.J. Luis Jr., Kadri, like, it just works. Like, they just got that, like, they feel like Pitino players. Like, they got that New York in them. It's a Pitino type feel to me, and I like it. I like it. St. John's gets the win here, and another game winner here, in another overtime game. EGO4 off a turnover. Marquette gets the defensive rebound, but then it gets stripped, and they give up a layup to lose the most heartbreaking way you can lose a game potentially here for Marquette. But yeah, St. John's gets it done 86-84. EGO4 with that game winner. RJ Luis has been a stud all season long, averaging 18. He had 28 and 11 in this game. Kadri had the first triple-double for St. John's in a minute. I want to say the 21st century, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, Kadri 10, 12, and 11 for the triple dub. EGO4, of course, had the game winner, also at 17 and 12. So yeah, the big three there was cooking. Cam Jones had a game. All right, the superstar for Marquette, 32, 9, and 7. Continues to be one of the best guards in the country. And yeah, he was that guy in this game. But like I said, like with Johnny, it wasn't enough. All right, Joplin had 21 too, but it wasn't enough. All right, St. John's gets it done with a crazy play at the buzzer. And yeah, madness. But we not done. We not done. Michigan State and Michigan. Before I talk about Duke Carolina, because trust me, I'm gonna talk about Duke Carolina, but I wanna have a perfect intro to that. Michigan State and Michigan. All right, Michigan. How do you only have two players show up to this game? How do you have two players show up to this game? I'm confused. Vic Goldine had 29. Danny Wolf had 18 and 13, but nobody else on the team showed up. I mean, not a soul. I'm seeing in the box score a lot of 3, 2, 0, 0, 2, 3 from the rest of the team. Your two big men showed up, but nobody else. And that is not going to win a game in this caliber. It's not. It's just not. So, yeah, horrible showing in my opinion for Michigan here, because yeah, it was pretty much a two-man game. Jackson Richardson continues to be having a great freshman season, especially in the second half since the turn of the year. I'm not saying he's a one and done, but yeah, Jax, Baby J Rich is looking good. All right. However, Holland did have his career high here. He had 20 in this game to lead Michigan State to glory here and knock off Michigan 79-62. It's March Izzo. You know what time it is. Now, yesterday I had the worst luck ever, guys. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I had the worst luck ever. Came out of retirement in football. We lost to Carolina. My friends couldn't come to the party I helped host last night here at the house. And it was just all down bad. I lost my wallet for a second. I was having a horrible day. I was fully prepared to have my heart broken. I was fully prepared to lose to Care. It just felt like it. RJ Davis then went and had 15 at halftime. Coop had 3 fouls in the first half. I was like, it's OV. And then I couldn't even watch some of the second half because I had to go run and get stuff for the party. I was crashing out. I was crashing out. So Carolina, I'll give you this. You had me for a little bit. You really did. Just a little bit. You had me sweating for a little bit. But it's done with. All right, that's done and dusted. Just like y'all. Because get the broomsticks out, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a sweep. It's a regular season at least, because we still might see them in the ACC tournament next week. A regular season sweep for the Duke Blue Devils. They get it done here, 82-69. It's glorious. All right, RJ Davis had a great senior night. I will give RJ that. He had 20 points. He looked like good RJ, not shot jacking, near 30% shooting RJ. This was the star RJ Davis. All right, so I will give credit there. However, everybody else, not particularly great. All right, not particularly great. Alio had his moments early on and then completely just shut down. Didn't have as many turnovers as last. So again, I'm just looking for stuff to give North Carolina. Before I start talking about Duke, I'm trying to help y'all out. I'm trying to help y'all out because y'all need it. Y'all need it, man. Y'all need it because it always feels good to beat y'all at home. I just want y'all to know it always feels good to beat y'all. Always feels good to beat them in the Diddy Dome. Always. All right. So let's talk about how we did it. All right. Colin Knippel with Coop, like I said, going out with 3 personal fouls in the first half, him having to sit. We had to get this done without him. And honestly, John Shire, once again, succession, as John Rauschenstein always loves to say on Twitter, he is that guy. My head coach is that guy. That feels so good to say. Shire is that guy. He made some great coaching decisions to keep us afloat in that first half. We actually went up like 15 without Coop at one point in time before Carolina went on a run to close it at the half. And then, he brought Coop back into that second half, got him to work, and then Coop did what Coop did. He finishes here with 59 and 6 here for Coop. And of course, some steals and blocks thrown in there because, best defensive player in the country potentially. Just great stuff from the future number 1 overall pick. Though it could have been better. All right, could have been better. He pretty much had to do that with one half of basketball. And 2 of those personal fouls were his fault. So, I couldn't even be mad at the refs because it was Coop's fault. All right, he shouldn't have put his hand out, and then he shouldn't have taken that charge. So, that was on Coop. But you know what? And Coop, I trust, he always figures it out. He figured it out in this game. But like I said, Colin Knippel was the big leader. When we needed a bucket, Colin was there. He shot consistently. When Colin shoots well, good things happen, and good things happen for Duke in this game. Tyrese Proctor has been a model of consistency. He has figured it out. He ain't coming back next year, ladies and gentlemen. He ain't coming back. He's playing good enough to go to the league and make some impact happen there. So, 16 for Proctor. Sion James continues once again, model of consistency. It's the little things that this team does that make me believe. Because this is a game that the past couple teams at Duke would have lost. They'd have lost this game. They wouldn't have been able to adapt to some of these runs Carolina in the environment. They would have folded. But this team, with the vets and the great freshmen we have, just seem to they have it. They have it, and I appreciate it. And it makes me happy, man. All right? It makes me happy, man. I can't lie to you. It makes me happy, man. And you know what else makes me happy, man? Beating that team from Chapel Hill. And that's exactly what we did. Sweep, get them broomsticks out. And you know what? If y'all want that work in the ACC tournament, come get it. Staying with Duke. Because this is why I wanted to break this up like this. Women's tournament. All right, we're going to talk about these women's championship games. And of course, Duke knocked off Notre Dame yesterday, who are still in the dumps and have completely lost all composure. All right? Completely lost it. Whatever they had for that period in the regular season, as soon as March hit, they have just completely crumbled. But I digress. Duke goes here against NC State, number 1 seeded NC State. And what happens here? Ladies and gentlemen, the ACC tournament champions this year in the women's side are the Duke Blue Devils. 76-62. We get it done in the 3-3-6. All right, shout out to the Borough. We get it done. Aluchi Okinawa had a game. All right, 22 and 10 for Aluchi. She cooked. Ash Jackson also had 22, so I gotta give a shout out there. But I was just impressed, man. Shout out to Coach Kara. shout out to the new Coach K. All right, female Coach K. She was great. It was just a very well coached game for us. We did not, falter. It wasn't like a game where Toby went off, but stayed with the hot hand, made some great decisions, played some great defense, and it was a really good team win. A really, really good team win for Duke in this game. That really kind of raises their profile here before the NCAA tournaments. And State, yeah, a little bit shocking of a loss with all the momentum they had, but it just feels like this is one of those years for women's basketball, man. It just feels like it's one of those years where this tournament is going to be crazy because there's so many different teams that can beat. I mean, it feels like anybody can be beat and there's like a selection of really good teams, but they can all beat each other. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I feel like these tournaments are going to be a little bit of a preview for that. The big three, though, for State did show up. All right, Azai had 18, Zoe had 17, Sinai had 16. Not the most efficient, like I said. Duke played some very, very good defense in this game. State, couldn't hit shots where they needed. Duke got ahead and did not let go of that lead. All right, they did not let go. And the Blue Devils, what a great week, man. It's a great week to be a Duke Blue Devil. All right, back for the afternoon loop of the rest of the conference championship games here in women's college basketball. Going off to the SEC, and these matchups are going to feel still very much so weird with me, even with conference realignment being, a couple months in. But nonetheless, here we are. South Carolina gets it done here, 64-45. This game was dominant. All right, they dominated this game. There's no other way to put this. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Easy work, light work. Just handled them. All right, handled them. Point blank, period. Texas just never looked comfortable. All right, Rory and Madison went 10 for 28 in this game. 10 for 28. When your two best players go 10 for 28 in a championship game, you're not winning. All right, you're not winning. And once again, it was a great team effort. Again, classic South Carolina, especially this year. Chloe Kitts had 15 and 9. Tournament Tessa. All right, Tessa Johnson had 14. And like I said, Dawn Staley is the best in the business for a reason. And the South Carolina team is deep. They get it done. Probably the best, purest form of, team ball you will see, I think, in women's college basketball. So, yeah. SCAR gets it done. They're SEC champs for a third straight season. How about the Big Ten championship looking a lot like the Pac-12 championship, honestly. UCLA and USC. And what a game this was. Of course, the big story going into this is USC has beaten their crosstown rivals twice this year. The only two losses that UCLA had up to this point. Well, today, that all changed because UCLA gets it done in the second half and wins 72-67. Lauren Betts went off. And I don't even just mean offensively. She had 17 points on the game. But what she did defensively and became the engine, the defensive anchor for that UCLA team in that second half, completely justifies any Defensive Player of the Year shout. She already won it for the Big Ten. See, already almost did it. And why she almost won Player of the Year over Juju, who, by the way, had 29 in this game. And you're like, okay, that's what Juju does. Well, she also had 28 shots to do that. So, yes, Juju with an awful second half. And not just her. The entire USC team took up to the last under 3 minutes in the game when they made their first field goal in the fourth quarter. Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. That cannot happen in a game of this magnitude. That cannot happen. They had, I think, 20 points total in the second half. UCLA had 20 points in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, that should tell you all you need to know about this game. USC closed out the first half very, very well. 9-0 run. Looking like they were going to get this thing done. But UCLA came through, made the adjustments. Corey Chase had them girls ready in that second half. Shut down USC. Shut down Juju. Lauren Betts went off. And that's a recipe for success for the Bruins. They will likely be the number 1 overall seed going into the NCAA tournaments. But let's talk about yet another 3-loss team. And they didn't increase that total today. Because, ladies and gentlemen, your Big 12 champions are the TCU Horned Frogs. They knock off Baylor 64-59 in a very, very tight one as well. But, yeah, Haley Van Lith. It's crazy. HBL is crazy. Absolutely crazy. The complete flip from... Her stock couldn't be lower after the way that season ended last year with LSU. With Caitlin dropping one of her greatest performances of all time. The shrug. It couldn't have ended worse for HBL. Couldn't have ended worse. I was questioning her position amongst the stars of her class, right? But she came back, transferred to TCU after winning the gold medal in the 3v3. And guess what? HBL is back. I'm here to tell you, HBL is back. Tell everybody, HBL is back. Not only did she win Big 12 Player of the Year, but she spun back here, wins Tournament Player of the Tournament, has 20 in this game, despite being doubled and tripled all game long by Baylor, who just decided that she wasn't going to beat you. That's fine. Sedona Prince is going to have 12 and 14. They've been one of the best duos in the country this year, and TCU gets it done. I do want to say the Vonleh family can hoop. All right, 20 points for Vonleh for Baylor, but it was not enough, as I so famously say. HBL, Sedona, do what they do. TCU, might be one to watch here in the tournament. We go see, but yeah, HBL redemption arc complete, absolutely complete. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the Roundup. NASCAR, yes. NASCAR this week, let's see. Christopher Bell, it's a reoccurring theme. He's won his, not one, not two, but third straight race this season at Phoenix. Another great finish, yet again. Surprised he did not spin, because I definitely thought when he cut in front of Kyle was about to spin him and Denny was going to win, but I digress. Seabell off to a hot start. Like I said last week, it might just be the year for number 20, but yeah, Seabell, 3 straight, all right, 3 straight at Phoenix. Well, not just at Phoenix, but 3 straight this season. NFL, offseason news. Myles Garrett got $40 million to stay in Cleveland, which, I guess you'll take that, Geno Smith got traded to the Raiders, which interesting for both teams, especially when I'm expecting the Raiders to want to draft a quarterback or maybe go for a quarterback, but maybe Geno's the bridge. I don't know. And yeah, Seattle just kind of blowing up that team. DK asked for a trade. It's weird in Seattle right now. So interested to see where that ends up. Devontae Adams literally like 30 minutes ago signed with the Rams. So more firepower for Stafford. Like that move. Especially since they got Matt to stay. NBA, let's talk about the MVP race, which is honestly just a 2-man show at this point. And boy, oh boy, are they having a hell of a March, all right? He's averaging 41 points in the month of March, and his last 3 games look like this. Yes, of course, I'm talking about one SGA, 51, 41, and he had 40 today against the Denver Nuggets, who I was about to talk about with the other MVP candidate, who had 31, 21, and 22, the first ever 30-20-20 game in NBA history. In that format, I guess, if you're not counting that crazy Wilt stat line from like 100 years ago. But anyways, they're calling it the first 30-20-20 game. So yeah, Joker had that in the overtime win versus the Suns, but they could not get it done against the Thunder. I think SGA is the MVP, even though I'm not going to lie. What Joker's doing this season is crazy. Okay? It's absolutely crazy. Top, not 5, not 10, not 15 in all 3 major categories. Top 3. In all 3 major categories, points, rebounds, assists is crazy. Absolutely crazy, but yeah, Joker, SGA, putting on a classic MVP race going on right now, but I think Shai's got it right now. We'll see what happens. But, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, wrestling season about to get to the NCAA tournament, so that'll be back very, very soon. NHL, let's see, the Hurricanes, man, that completely blew up with Ranson, and they traded him for Stankoven. We'll see what happens. He's now with the Stars. He got racked yesterday. Stankoven scored today, so we'll see what happens. Champions League is back next week, but that is it for episode 240. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to March. I hope you have a good one. Without further ado, Ocho signing off.